Hey guys, welcome back once again here to the Hillside. Today I'm going to show you how to plant a blueberry bush in a container. Tips to get started, the soil conditions, fertilizing ideas, and just overall growing practices. So follow along and I'll show you how it's done. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so typically when you get a blueberry plant, this one is I believe 2 years old. You can tell it was from a cutting right here, and it's grown into a nice young little plant. So if you don't know, blueberries have very specific requirements for growing. Okay, one, they are a very acidic, soil-loving plant, and that means it needs about between 4.5 to maybe 5.5 on the high end. Getting closer to 6, the plants are not going to be doing as well. Okay, so remember when you plant these are a very acidic-loving plant, and a lot of times, maybe depending on where you live, you may have alkaline soil. It might be just too much of a hassle to try to really acidify or try to bring the pH way down for your existing soil. So growing in a container might be easier and your best bet, because it's so much easier to control the acidity level in a container than over a large area. Okay, unless you're in a commercial operation and you have the ability to spread tons of sulfur or aluminum sulfate or something else to use commercially to actually lower the pH in a commercial blueberry operation. So let's talk about what goes into planting the blueberry. Alright, so starting off right here, you need to sneak some general purpose garden soil or potting soil or any kind of planting stuff like that. And this right here, this is just the Pro Mix. Okay, I like using this stuff a lot. It has a little bit of perlite in it, but not too much, and it's a nice soft texture. Okay, so this is really good for starting your seeds and for just general purpose container gardening. Okay, now blueberries, like I said, although they are acidic loving plants, they also like a high amount of organic matter. So I use this. This is just organic humus and manure. Okay, this is the Earth Grower brand, not advertising or anything, it's just what I use. So I would mix this together, and I'll show you the mixing techniques here in a second when we get around to that. Thirdly, right here, now this is peat moss. Okay, and I understand the concern about it not being renewable. I understand that, people's perspective. If you don't want to use actual peat moss, you can substitute with sphagnum moss, or if you want to get the coconut coir, okay, that's really has no acidic properties at all, you can use it as a soil amendment, but it's not going to bring the pH down like you need, whereas the sphagnum or the peat moss is going to do that. So you're going to have to take that into consideration and supplement with a chemical of some kind. Okay, I'm trying to do this as organic as possible, be that as it may, not trying to stir up any controversy. And finally, you're going to need some kind of a fertilizer for acidic loving plants. Now you check it out for evergreens, acid loving plants, and vegetables. This is the Fox Farm brand. Again, not advertising, I just use this stuff, it works. Okay, you can also use cottonseed meal, which is a byproduct of the cotton industry. It does bring it down. It's a very slow release of nitrogen, so not only is it going to help with the acidification, it's actually going to add some slow release nitrogen to your plants as well. And that being said, blueberries have a very shallow root. They need to stay a little bit moist, so I'm going to top this container off here with some mulch to make sure I ensure that the roots do not dry out, as the plant is very susceptible to drying out, which will affect your fruit setting and berry production in the end. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mix all these soil amendments together, show you how I do that. We're going to pop this thing up and wrap this video up, guys. All right, check this out, come on. All right, so what you need to do is you get a container, plastic tote, whatever is the best for you, that will accommodate the size of container and the dirt and the soil amendments you're going to need. So make sure you take that into consideration. Now what I've already done, like I showed you before, this is the peat moss in the bottom here. I'm going to add in some Pro Mix, and the ratio, I try to go maybe 50-50 for right now. And on top of that, I'm going to add about just the rest of this bag here of this organic matter, the humus and manure. Mix that in there. And then I like using my hands, guys. If you want to use gloves, go for it. There's nothing in here that's going to hurt you, but I just like the way dirt feels between my fingers, you know what I'm saying? So get out there and get dirty. It's what the fun part of gardening is, getting out there and just enjoying it. Now look at this, mixing it all together with the two different colorations between the compost and the humus and these things. You can really tell if there's any kind of gaps or places that are not really mixed well together. Keep it coming up from the bottom just like that. Look at this, so much fun. It's like being a little kid, right? Never stop having fun in the garden. Just playing in dirt, why not, right? Why would you want to be inside on your phone doing something like that? unless you're outside, you know, watching YouTube videos that Dave the Hillside Gardener making. I guess I can make an exception for that. I don't know. Okay, so when you feel that it's nice and mixed up like this, the nice consistency, we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and fill this container up, show you how we do that next step. Okay guys, let's check this out. So all I'm gonna do, and this is not anything overly the top difficult, I just make sure I put it in. And while I do this, make sure there's any, like right here, there's a couple of big chunks, there's a big stick that's in that. I'll take that out because it's, you know, it's just not really necessary. It's not gonna hurt anything, but you know, it's up to you. So let me go ahead and fill the rest of this up and I'll show you what I'm gonna do. All right, now it's time for the easiest part, okay? Like I said, always put all your effort into making the soil good, get your amendments correct, everything. Planting the plant, that's the easiest last thing you do. All the hard work is right here, guys, okay? The hard work is in soil prep and getting ready. The plants are gonna be set up for success. They're gonna take to this soil, they're gonna grow, and you know, just take care of them and they're gonna do just fine. Now what I will recommend here, you see this plant, how small it is? Where it's going into a container. Right here, these are flower buds, okay? Now, you don't want this plant trying to produce fruit right now at this early of a stage while transplanting it. So I would recommend at this stage, go through and you're just going to pinch off these flower buds. I know it may seem like a waste, but trust me, your plants are gonna be better off for it. Next year, they're gonna be bigger, produce more fruits, and you know, it's gonna set this plant up for the best possible situation that it's gonna be growing in. So like I said, again, it's not really that difficult. Just come in here like this, pull off these flowers like that, really gentle. Make sure you don't break any of the growing tips off or your buds that are gonna produce more leaves and continue on the process of growing out for you, okay? So if you've never been shown how to remove a plant from a container like this, now with these roots where they've grown out, you know, you're probably gonna tear a couple of these. It's not the end of the world, guys. This plant is young, you're setting it up in some good soil, they're gonna grow back. So don't get overly worried about it. If you really feel like you need to and you wanna cut through this container to salvage every little bit of root, that's up to you, and you decide what's best for you, okay guys? So all I do is put the fingers like this around the base of your plant, hold it upside down, kind of gently work it loose around the edge of the pot like this, and it's gonna slide out pretty easily. And yeah, see, I did break off some roots. Not a big deal. It's gonna be just fine, people. It's gonna be just fine. Now look at this nice root structure on this. Like I said, the blueberries here have very fine roots, so you do need to be careful. Don't just go ripping stuff out. That was inevitable to take a couple of the little roots at the end. That's okay. And this plant is actually pretty well rooted. It's not root bound. This is the perfect size plant for transplanting into your container. So what you want to make sure you do is you don't want to bury the stem. You don't want to bury it, you know, you don't want to bury this stem right here. Just try to keep it at the exact same growing level that it was in the nursery or from where you bought it. And all I'm just going to do is continue to make a hole, put it there nice and gently, tuck it in really well, firm it in there, guys. Get some good root structure. It's all touching the soil. This is the label of the plant. This is the Rika variety. I'll go ahead and make a better label for that in the future. But at this point, what you're going to do, you get your cottonseed meal, your acidic fertilizer. I'm just going to take just a little, you know, there's probably some kind of formula out there about how much you're supposed to use per however big your gallon of your plant is. But I've done this so many times, I can just kind of eyeball it. Just want to kind of lightly dust it on top like this for right now. Then I just work this into the top layer of the soil as such. And the most important thing, what you want to do at the end, you water your plant in. Now, what kind of water should you use? I have a rain barrel and I water exclusively with rainwater as much as I possibly can. I very rarely will use tap water unless I have to. And like I mentioned over and over again, because it's that important, blueberries need acidic soil, okay? A lot of tap waters can be very alkaline. There's a lot of calcium, there's a lot of chemicals and things like that in that. It's going to alter the pH of this plant. They're very susceptible to that. I strongly urge you to not use tap water if you don't have to. If you really do, get a bucket if it's possible and let it sit outside. Let the you know, the chlorine and things kind of evaporate from it. But even at that, guys, a lot of stuff is going to stay in your water. Okay, case in point, I have a humidifier I keep in the plant room, and over time I have to basically go in there and chip away all the calcium that builds up on the heating elements because where it's just evaporated off. So that just kind of, you know, take that into consideration, test your water, but yeah, use rainwater if at all possible. I'll go ahead and do that now. And like I said, don't make this overly complicated. Gardening should be fun. If you're stressing and you're freaking out and you're overly thinking it, you're doing it wrong, okay? If you're not getting dirty, you're also doing something wrong too. All right, so how many times have you been told as a kid, stop getting dirty, don't listen to that. Go get dirty, plant some stuff, okay? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna get some mulch, top this off, and wrap this video up, guys. All right, be right back. Ready? All right, now what I like to do for my blueberries as far as mulch is use pine bark mulch, okay? Now, there's a lot of people out there that think what they think, and that's fine, but I've done a lot of research on this, and the pine bark mulch does not make your soil acidic, nor does adding pine needles, okay? They initially break down a little bit when they, with all organic matter breaking down, it's going to be a little bit more acidically, tending to be a little more acidic as it does break down, but over time it does neutralize as it turns back into like a broken down compost, okay? So don't think that just adding pine bark or pine needles is going to instantaneously, just miraculously turn this soil acidic, okay? So that's one thing to consider. Thing out of here, but yeah, so anyhow, that being said, I've used the pine bark because it's very fine. See how fine it is, these little pieces like that? That's what I like around these blueberries because I don't like big chunks around them. These plants need to stay moist, and I think it looks pretty nice too. You don't want to get a lot of that, the commercial mulch that's painted, has a lot of dyes in it, things like that. I don't use that. I just like this stuff and how fine it is, easier to spread, get it right up against the plant like that, okay? And there you go. And luckily, it's going to rain this afternoon, so I'm not going to do any more watering. We'll let Mother Nature take care of it from there. And there you go. That is how you properly plant a blueberry in a container. Get your soil ready to go. And there you go. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you give this video a thumbs up if it helped you out. If not, it's all right. I'll see you next time out here gardening somewhere on the hillside. All right, guys? Until then, be good, go get dirty, plant something. Bye-bye.